Let's get it over with, shall we? Hello everybody, my name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic, and on this channel it's my job to point you in the direction of movies worth checking out. So if that interests you, definitely hit like and subscribe. And today I'm here to tell you if Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi is still worth a watch. Now I say let's get this over with because Star Wars The Last Jedi is probably the most divisive film in the entire franchise, right? You have the original trilogy, most people like the original trilogy. You have the prequel trilogy. Most people do not like the prequel trilogy. The Force Awakens, I believe that most people have a positive opinion about that one. The Last Jedi, you got both sides really, really passionate about what side they're on for The Last Jedi. And I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, right? I don't consider you guys fans, I consider you guys friends. And I'm not gonna lie to my friends, right? So when I watched this movie for the very first time, right out of the theater, I'm like, that was an amazing movie. I watched it again in theaters. I actually went down to Mexico and I saw it in theaters down there as well. Still loved it. Bought it on Blu-ray, watched it again at home, started to notice some cracks. Then I didn't watch it for a while, watched it for this review, and unfortunately I can say that it is cracked. My opinion, I was on the Last Jedi, this is an amazing movie, and through the passage of time, I'm moving more towards this movie is not that good. But I still see some really good parts in it. But I also see the parts that are just, oh boy. Let's talk about the story, shall we? So in Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi, General Leia, Poe Dameron, and the rest of the Resistance have been found by the First Order as they are evacuating their base. While trying to escape the First Order, Poe Dameron goes directly against Leia's orders and launches a counterattack on the First Order. And even though the Resistance destroyed the powerful First Order ship known as the Dreadnought, many Resistance casualties occur during the battle, causing Poe Dameron to be demoted.
You're demoted.
Meanwhile, Rey has traveled to the island, where Luke Skywalker is in exile, to seek guidance, training, and to get Luke back to the Resistance to fight against the First Order. The only problem is that Luke Skywalker feels solely responsible for the fall of the Republic and the rise of Kylo Ren and believes that it is time for the Jedi to end. Speaking of Kylo Ren, he finds out that there is a mysterious bond between the minds of both him and Rey. Because of this, Rey believes that there's conflict in him and that he can be turned to the light side. However, she must hurry because the Resistance fleet is almost out of fuel as the First Order is right on their tail in a slow, grinding chase across the galaxy. So is Star Wars The Last Jedi still worth a watch today? Honestly, I don't know how to answer that question because as of filming this, I have not seen The Rise of Skywalker. There are things in this movie that I think are really, really well done. And there are also things in this movie I think are so stupid, distracting, and unnecessary. But let's start with the positives. Let's list the things that I liked in The Last Jedi. Number one is the Rey, Kylo Ren, Snoke, Luke Skywalker storyline. This feels like Star Wars. And like I said in the story synopsis, Rey and Kylo Ren have this mysterious power that links their minds and they can communicate with each other through the Force even though they're on the opposite sides of the galaxy. And that's something we haven't seen before in a Star Wars movie, a major Star Wars movie. It might have been in the Star Wars books or canon or whatever. I don't really dive into the expanded universe too much, so if it was in there, then my apologies. This is the first time we've seen it in a major motion picture, and it was awesome to see. You know, this is something new and it fits. This feels like something that you could do with the Force. And Daisy Ridley gives a great performance, but Adam Driver, man, he is probably the best actor in these movies. He does a phenomenal job as Kylo Ren, and I cannot wait to see him and his performance in The Rise of Skywalker. And you know who else gives a wonderful performance? Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker. Now, I get it. A lot of people had problems with Luke Skywalker in this movie about his choices that he makes as a character. And yes, spoilers for this movie, a lot of people thought that the choices in the script that Rian Johnson made went against Luke Skywalker's character. Now, him deciding to kill his own nephew because he sensed the dark side in him, yeah, that is going a little too far, right? But then again, we don't know how The Rise of Skywalker is going to end. This whole storyline with Luke and Kylo Ren, it isn't finished yet. So I can't say for a fact that, this was the right thing to do, but it was a little jarring to see Luke Skywalker almost kill his own nephew before he turned to the dark side. So that was a little strange, but I really did like the fact that Luke Skywalker, he felt responsible for the fall of the Republic, the rise of the First Order. He let down his sister and his best friend for losing their son, his nephew, over to the dark side. He let down the entire galaxy. So of course he's going to feel responsible. And you know what? If I let down the entire galaxy, I'd probably go into exile as well, right? It's not that different than what Yoda and Obi-Wan did, right? So I actually liked that, and it actually fit into the Star Wars narrative, in my opinion. I realized that by me saying things that I like about this movie will piss off some people, and vice versa. I get that, but I gotta be honest with you guys. I like that portion of Luke's character. Also, when he's talking about the Force to Rey, and he's talking about how the Force does not belong to the Jedi, a lot of people had problems with that, but I kind of agree with them. Because think about it. Think about you going into a church and saying that the power of God is only for the priests, right? And only for the priests, only for the nuns, and nobody else can be graced with the power of God, right? And again, I'm not super religious, so I'm not gonna, rant or, lecture you guys about that, but it kind of makes sense, right? Obi-Wan Kenobi, oh, it's an energy field that, binds the galaxy together. It flows through all living things. And yeah, that's what the Force is. It's not just some power that the Jedi can use. It's everywhere. It's in everything. It's in everyone. It is what binds the galaxy together. So I like that part too. And his speech at the end to Kylo Ren fits the themes of Star Wars, right? The rebellion is reborn today. And what's Star Wars all about? It's about hope. And that speech definitely fit in with the themes of Star Wars. Now I gotta talk about Snoke's death. Again, this story is in limbo, right? As soon as I walked out of The Force Awakens, I told myself, you know what? As far as I can remember, the Star Wars trilogy, or the Star Wars saga, was complete, right? I became a fan after Revenge of the Sith came out. That's when I became a true fan. So in my childhood, the 6 films, that was Star Wars. And now that we had Episode 7, we do not know how the Star Wars story ends. So for the last 4 or 5 years, we've been in limbo, right? So again, having all these things happen in The Last Jedi, we're like, oh, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. We don't have the third act to really tell us how this thing really fits into the entire picture. Because I can imagine back in 1980, people going, what? Darth Vader is Luke's father? How's that gonna work? And people getting a little upset about that. They hadn't seen Return of the Jedi yet. Again, I wasn't there, so I can't speak to what people were thinking at the time. But Snoke's death kind of feels like the same thing. And sure, some of the dialogue with Snoke's death was pretty cheesy, but you gotta admit, when you were in the theater and you saw that happen, it was pretty unexpected, right? I did not expect Kylo Ren to kill Snoke and then for that battle to happen with the guards. I was like, holy crap, subverting expectations, right? So watching it for the first time, I was like, holy crap. And I was really invested, and I really did like all the twists and turns. But now that the novelty's kind of worn off, you've seen the movie more than once, you know what's going to happen. Are they the right choices for the story? I don't know yet. I need to see The Rise of Skywalker to see how it fits into the whole narrative to really tell. And while yes, seeing Kylo Ren, almost join forces with Rey, and then he decides, like, oh, screw it, I'm still evil, I'm going to be the supreme leader of the First Order, it did seem a little awkward at first, but then thinking about it, kind of like in Empire Strikes Back when Luke Skywalker was going to go find his friends and save them from the hands of Darth Vader, even though Yoda and Obi-Wan were just keeping him, or trying to keep him to stay on Dagobah, he's like, I gotta save my friends. He is willing to put away his own wants to save others. A real Jedi trait. Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, the opposite. Screw the Jedi, screw the Sith, screw the rebellion, just let it all die. I want to be in power. That's a true dark side trait. Being selfish, not caring about anyone else but yourself, that is the true nature of the dark side. So in my mind, Kylo Ren is without a doubt past the point of redemption. He is pure evil now. So those are the moments that I really liked about this movie. I also really liked the cinematography, the action sequences were really well done, and also the message that failure is your greatest teacher. That is extremely true, and people have to find that out the hard way, right? Through your biggest failures is when you grow the most. Kind of like how it's the darkest before the dawn. The message that failure is the greatest teacher is a good message to have. And that's what I liked about Star Wars The Last Jedi. Now, what I did not like about The Last Jedi. I did not like the goofiness, some of the logic flaws, the structure, and the weak characters. So first off, the comedy. Yes, in the original trilogy, there was some goofiness, right? You have like C-3PO and R2-D2 falling off Jabba's barge. It's lighthearted humor, but it doesn't take you out of the movie. The comedy in this movie, completely distracting. You know, we have Luke Skywalker throwing the lightsaber over his shoulder, you have Poe Dameron and General Hux with the whole your mama stuff, and then you have Finn and Rose on their little adventure, and their chemistry is just so wooden. It just, every single attempt at comedy just felt really misplaced in this movie. And then we have Laura Dern. Now, I do not get her character. I'm sorry, but I don't. And I know a lot of people have actually defended Laura Dern in this movie. And let me get this straight. I don't hate Laura Dern as an actress or a person. You know, she seems like a wonderful lady, and I've seen her in other movies where she gives great performances. But here, I just don't get it. Number one, the choice of hair is extremely distracting. But number two, she's supposed to play like this great general, and I have no problem with women in power. Let me state that right off the bat. But she plays it kind of like your bitchy vice principal, right? Telling Poe Dameron, stick to your post and follow my orders because I'm a woman in power and you're a man that needs to, and again, I won't get super into the whole feminist yada yada yada. I'm not here to talk about that. I just don't get it, right? You know, she won't tell Poe Dameron her plan because, you know, Poe Dameron's got to learn how to take orders, right? Which I thought that whole storyline just felt a little odd to me, right? And then you find out the actual plan, right? So the rebel ships are going to be going to Crate, and then the main ship's just going to like fly by. The First Order is going to be following them while all the little transports will go down to the planet. And that will work because the First Order will not be monitoring little transports going out of the ship. How do you know that? And why won't they do that? Because don't you think like there's a planet right there and these little things coming out of the ship going down there? You'd think that they would notice that they're going down there? Anyways, I thought that was pretty dumb. And you know what else I thought was pretty dumb? The whole Canto Bight sequence. Now, I have no problem with like a casino Las Vegas planet in Star Wars, right? But the reason why it was there, it felt like Disney was like, okay, Rian Johnson, you need to have at least 3 or 4 planets in Star Wars because we need to, you know, have levels for video games. We need to have them on t-shirts. We need to have action figures, yada, yada, yada. It doesn't feel natural. And I like to call this the we need to give the characters something to do plot, right? Because you have Finn and Rose who just have no chemistry together. I'm sorry, but they are on the ship, right? Oh crap, they're on one giant ship with nothing to do. Okay, let's get them to go to some planet and come back and just nothing happens, right? I get it, failure is your greatest teacher, but it just feels unnecessary. It feels really disjointed. It feels so just completely tonally different than the whole Rey, Snoke, Kylo Ren stuff, which is the main stuff in the movie, but yet you don't get really that much screen time with them because we're having so much screen time with Finn and Rose on Canto Bight. And again, the whole storyline about, you know, selling weapons to the First Order and selling weapons to the Resistance, that stuff, it just felt so out of place. Like, why do we need this in here? Why don't we talk about the real Star Wars stuff? You know, the Force, Destiny, and the light side and the dark side and the training of Rey and the whole, you know, why did Kylo Ren turn evil? You know, what was going through Luke's mind? You know, people don't really like that, but explore it more. No one really cares about this Canto Bight stuff. I would have cared if Finn and Rose had some chemistry, or if it was Finn and Poe and Rey going on an adventure over here, but we don't have that. And I don't mind Rose, right? Kelly Marie Tran, I don't dislike her. Like, she's a fine person, but in this movie, I just thought her character, and especially Finn, right? Those are the two characters that are going on the adventure together, have no chemistry. So why do I care? Now, finally, the last scene I will talk about, and this might be my least favorite scene in all of Star Wars, the kiss. I have no problem with romance in Star Wars. In fact, I wish there was a little bit more romance in these sequel movies, in these Disney Star Wars movies. However, Finn is about to sacrifice himself. He's about to fly into the giant Death Star cannon. And then Rose comes completely out of nowhere, crashes into him, and they both crash land right beside the cannon. The cannon is still charging, and again, that hit, that could have killed both of them. And then Finn's like, why'd you do that? I was almost there. And then Rose goes, I saved you. We're not gonna win by destroying what we hate, but by saving what we love. Okay, that is extremely cheesy, even for Star Wars. And then there's fireworks when you kiss, right? Oh, when I kissed her, it was like fireworks going off. Yeah, there's fireworks going off in the background, but it's literally a laser destroying the base with all of your friends inside. And that kiss was just so awkward. Like, Finn's like, what? It was so bizarre. it took me completely out of the movie. And you know, if there's little nitpicks here and there that will keep me invested into the story, that's fine. I'll be like, oh, that's a little strange, but I'm still invested into the story and the characters and the emotion. That completely just took me right out of it. So again, this movie is a tale of two different movies. You have some really good stuff, some really intriguing stuff, and then you have just a ton of unnecessary, boring, wooden, soulless filler. So for a rating, I'm gonna give The Last Jedi a 2 out of 5 because it was okay. Like I said, I enjoyed quite a bit in this movie, but I also hated a lot in this movie. Anyways, guys, tell me down in the comment section down below. Let's be fair here. Tell me one thing you did not like about this movie and one thing you did like about this movie. Because I think that for even all Star Wars fans, there's one thing that people like and there's one thing that people did not like. There's a little bit of both. So let me know down in the comment section down below. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Rise of Skywalker's next. Here we go. I can't wait. I will see you guys there. May the Force be with you.